Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to High Volume Video. I'm Keith and I'm back with another episode of the Criterion Chronicles. So I'm actually recording this a day before the sale starts at Barnes & Noble, and I have 3 titles here to show off that I watched in the last week or so. They're all very good movies, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first one I have here to talk about is from 1996, Trainspotting. This is directed by Danny Boyle and it stars Ewan McGregor. I wanted to rewatch this one because I had just recently rewatched 28 Days Later, and I went to the theater and saw 28 Years Later, and I was kind of surprised with how kind of weird 28 Years Later ended up being. It definitely feels more like this or maybe Sunshine, another Danny Boyle movie, or it just had that feeling to me, or I got that feeling from it. So yeah, anyways, I wanted to revisit this one. This is a movie that I've seen maybe 4 or 5 times since I first saw it, like back in high school, I want to say. This is another one of those movies that back in high school, if you had seen this movie, it was kind of like you're in the cool kids club. It's in that same camp as other movies like Donnie Darko or like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So this movie is basically a dark comedy slash slice of life movie, I guess you could call it. It follows Ewan McGregor's character and his group of friends that are all heroin addicts, and they're all in various stages of either getting on heroin or getting off of heroin. Ewan McGregor's character goes through this cycle a couple times in the movie where he's on the drugs and then he's off the drugs and then he's back on again. And I myself personally have never been into hard drugs. I've never dealt with addiction at all, but I think this movie is like a pretty good or pretty accurate portrayal of some of those things. Overall, the movie has a pretty energetic, fun vibe to it, but there are some very dark moments. All I'll say is, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about here. The stuff with the baby, very dark. Me being a new father, I know I bring this up all the time, but it's just kind of like the way that I see movies now through like a different lens, being a father. But that scene, or a couple of the scenes there, were they hit me a little harder than they used to, for sure. But for the most part, the movie is played for laughs. They just these characters get into a lot of like goofy situations, but it is serious at the same time. There's another character in the movie, I'm forgetting the guy's name. Robert Carlyle plays Begbie. He's one of the characters. He actually is not on drugs ever in the movie, or at least I don't think he is. But he actually ends up being like the most vicious, mean, nasty character in the movie. And he kind of gets his buddies, who are all on drugs, who you would think are worse people, he gets them into some worse situations than they get themselves into, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, anyways, overall, this is a pretty fun movie. If you can say that a movie about people addicted to heroin is fun, it's about as fun as it can be. But yeah, I definitely suggest this if you're into Danny Boyle's other stuff. I really like Sunshine. This is probably tied with that to be my favorite Danny Boyle movie. I do really like the Rage Virus movies as well, but this is probably on the top of my list, so definitely give this one a watch and maybe pick it up in the sale if you haven't seen it yet. Okay, so the next one I have here is a big one in the Criterion collection, and that is The Seventh Seal, directed by Ingmar Bergman. And this is from 1957, and it stars Max von Sydow, who you probably know from The Exorcist and a lot of other stuff. He went on to have a very successful career up until he passed away just a few years ago. He was even in one of the Star Wars movies, The Force Awakens, I believe. But yeah, so The Seventh Seal, very big, important movie, and this was actually my first time watching it. Basically, it follows the story of this knight and his squire who are returning home from the Crusades. He's been gone on the Crusades for, I think they say, like 10 years or something like that. And the movie opens up with a very iconic scene. Like I said, this was the first time I had seen this, but I even knew about this opening scene where basically the knight, Death approaches. Death is this man in a black cloak. He approaches the knight, and I think he's telling him that his time is up, but the knight convinces him or challenges him to a game of chess. I think he says that he had seen Death in paintings or something, or maybe read about him in books, having liked playing chess. So the knight challenges him to this game of chess, and Death accepts. And throughout the movie, they're making their moves, and yeah, I don't really remember why they don't just play it out all on the beach where it opens up. But yeah, so throughout the movie, they're playing this game of chess, and basically the knight is kind of biding his time. He wants to get home to see his wife, I believe, and also he's having this crisis of faith. Really, I think he knows that his time is up and he's going to die. Since death has visited him, but he really, before he dies, he really wants like concrete evidence of God, or he just wants to know what happens to you after you die. And I think he's searching for like the meaning of life, and he's really having this crisis of faith. And like I said, this was my first time watching this, so I definitely need to watch it a few more times and maybe dig into some of the supplements, and I don't know, maybe go out and read up on this a little bit more. But my first viewing, I did really like this. I wouldn't say it's like a 5-star movie for me, but I did really like it. There's a great cast of other characters beyond the knight and his squire. You meet this group of actors that are really funny. Most of the movie is played pretty seriously, but there are some pretty funny moments in it. The ending of the movie I thought was great. There is some heavy stuff in the movie as well, and some scary moments. But yeah, basically the whole thing is just about the journey of the knight trying to get back home, and as he's playing this game of chess and having this crisis of faith. So I would say if you like very, I don't know if philosophical is the right word for it, but movies that explore the ideas of the meaning of life and faith and the loss of faith, I would definitely say check this one out. If you haven't seen it already, this is a classic. It was definitely on my list of shame, but now I get to finally cross it off the list and say that I've seen this movie. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth a watch. So yeah, if you haven't seen Seventh Seal, definitely check it out. Alright, and the last one I have to talk about here is Cure from 1997. It's directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, I believe is how you pronounce his name. But this movie blew me away. I love this one. So basically, Cure follows this detective who's trying to solve this series of murders that are all being perpetrated by different people. But basically, he's trying to figure out how they're connected. And each one of these murders actually have similar aspects to them. That each victim, I don't think this is spoiling the movie by saying this, but each victim has an X carved like in their neck / like in the top of their chest. That indicates to the detective and the people trying to solve this case that they are connected, even though all the people that they're finding, like some of the people that have committed these murders, they find right away, and each one of these people who has perpetrated one of these murders seems to be in this like weird state of amnesia, and they just seem totally out of it. But yeah, hopefully that's not spoiling too much. That all that stuff is revealed like very early on, so I don't think that's really much of a spoiler. The way that they're all connected, actually, I don't even really think is a spoiler either. But the real hook of this movie, for me at least, what I thought was great about it was just this impending feeling of dread that you get while you're watching it. Basically, a quick spoiler warning right here. I'm just gonna say how they're connected real quick. So if you don't want to see, or if you don't want to know how they're connected, if you want to go in fresh, you do learn it pretty quickly when you're watching the movie, but maybe skip ahead or just turn the video off now and come back after you've had a chance to watch the movie if you don't want to know. But so the way that you find out that the way that these murders are connected is this mysterious character that you're kind of introduced early on in the movie is hypnotizing these people and convincing them through his hypnosis to carry out these murders. You don't really ever get a real motivation from him. But you do learn a little bit about the history, about how he was studying. He was studying hypnotism, but all that stuff is kind of just the bones of it. The real meat and potatoes of it, I guess you could say, is just like the dreadful feeling. Every time Masato Hagiwara, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I probably butchered it. Every time that character is on screen, it's almost like you are being hypnotized as the viewer. There are some moments actually that I thought were kind of funny, because every time somebody asks him a question, he always responds with a question, and I was thinking that maybe that was part of how he hypnotizes people, is because he never answers a question. He's just asking questions himself. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like he's answering every question with a question, so other characters like the detective and other people at times are getting really frustrated. So I thought that was like a little bit funny, but it's definitely not really supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be dreadful. And that actor Masato, I think I'm pronouncing that right. He is absolutely hypnotic. And the person who plays Takabe, the detective, also does a really good job in this movie. There's awesome cinematography in it. The cinematographer uses negative space really well in this movie. Every frame, almost every frame, looks like something that you could see in like a liminal space type, photography book or something. There's a lot of like wide shots, and the characters will be like very small on the screen. And I feel like in modern movies, at least, you don't really get a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, so it's a beautiful movie, terrifying. It totally gets under your skin. I highly recommend this if you're into like very hypnotic, creepy, very creepy, murder mystery vibe movies. When I was watching this, I was trying to think of like other movies that give off the same feeling, and it kind of had like a David Fincher vibe a little bit to it. I was definitely thinking about stuff like Seven or The Zodiac, even stuff like Memories of Murder. I feel a little bit similar to this, but yeah, definitely check this one out if you're into like detective crime movies. And even I don't think it's like a spoiler to say this, but it feels a little bit supernatural in a way. But yeah, definitely check this one out. I highly recommend this for any fan of thriller detective movies, for sure. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Criterion Chronicles. Thanks for watching. Definitely let me know down in the comments if you've seen any of these movies, what you think of them, and if you have any recommendations for other Criterion movies, or just any movies in general that you want to see me talk about on the channel. Definitely leave those recommendations down below as well. And yeah, hopefully everybody gets a chance to go out, support physical media, go buy those Blu-rays, buy those 4Ks. I'll definitely be out there. I got a big list of movies that I want to pick up in this sale. I know they're also doing 50% off on Radiance and I think Indicator and some other like boutique label type stuff. So maybe I'll mix in some of those movies in the next episode. We'll see. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.